Welcome to Positively Plaistow. I'm Sandy Britton, and tonight with me I have the town manager, Charlie Kellner. Our subject tonight is recycling. I'd like to thank Charlie, give him a feather in his cap, for the great job he's done of initiating a recycling project in Plaistow. It's going to save the town some money, it's going to help the environment, and we're real happy, Charlie.
We're real happy too, Sandy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yeah, you're right. It's one area, it's one of those few win-win situations with which we're confronted, where we can do something good for the environment, something good for ourselves, and save a few dollars at the same time. It's a nice combination.
Okay. We have footage of the Plaistow landfill, which we're going to see in a couple moments. We recycle presently paper, glass, and cans, correct?
Right. We recycle newspaper, with which we can take some other things. I guess we'll get into that after we see the tape. Glass, food, and beverage containers, and aluminum and tin cans. It's basically the three categories that we're now accepting.
Okay. Now, you initiated this program. How long has it been into progress?
We started it in roughly mid-May of this year. So 6 months, 6.5 months.
And what did this involve?
Well, back in February, our prior contract for waste removal expired. So the process for the subsequent contract obviously started well before February. And all the companies were talking about payment by the ton. That was the impetus that we needed to try to minimize the amount of tonnage we're throwing away, thus recycling. It was the last straw, if you will, that got the town moving.
Okay, let's talk about tonnage. Tonnage means what?
Tonnage is, we're paying by weight, okay?
Okay,
there's a component of our monthly bill for refuse collection and transportation and disposal, which varies, and that's by the weight. The first year of the 5-year contract, we're paying $37.50 for every ton of material that we put out in the curb every week. We're talking, it doesn't sound like a lot, but for example, in the month of November, we throw out somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 ton. Multiply that by $37.50, and we're talking some serious money. And then that's 12 months.
Okay, so if you're talking newspapers, glass, there's a lot of tonnage there.
There's a phenomenal amount of tonnage that we can save. And at the same time, we can save a few trees, save some energy. There's a whole lot of things we can do.
Now, needless to say, you can't do this by yourself, Charlie. I understand there's a committee in town.
It's a newly formed committee. The recycling committee was incredibly pleased to see that at our first meeting, which was held within the last couple of weeks, there were 14 people there.
That's fabulous.
Not only there were 14 people there were 14 people who were enthusiastic about volunteering their time and their expertise in trying to increase the success of the program. It was very heartwarming.
Okay, that's great. Let's see some tape of the Plaistow's landfill.
Okay.
And that's on Old Road in Plaistow?
Old County Road.
Old County Road in Plaistow.
Right.
How long have I lived in town? Shame on me. All right, Charlie, we're looking at dumpsters. Let's see, we have plywood covering them for what purpose?
Well, depends on which dumpster we're looking at. That was the newspaper, and that's A, to keep it dry, and B, keep it from blowing around. I believe that's cans. There's aluminum and there's tin. Tin is really tin-coated steel, so it's keeping them from rusting.
All right.
This is glass. We have plywood over 3 colors of glass, white, green, and brown. So it's mainly a safety factor. If you notice, the newspaper container was full. That is the fourth time that's been full since mid-May. The aluminum and tin is the first time that's been full. That will be dumped, in fact, tomorrow for the first time. The glass is almost full. The white is virtually full, as is the brown. The green's got 2/3 done, and that's been compacted. So there's quite a few tons there.
Okay. What does this program end up costing us? Like, do we have to rent these bins to hold all our...
Bins are free.
The bins are free.
The people who monitor the landfill on the alternating Saturdays are free. They volunteer their time.
Okay.
With the newspaper, our contract for refuse collection calls for our vendor to take it to the Haverhill Paperboard for free. We will be paying some money to have the aluminum and tin box taken tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to Concord, where the material will be recycled. But what we pay to have the box taken up there, it'd be less than what we will, not only what we will make from selling the aluminum and tin, but also you have to add on to that the $37.50 a ton that we're not paying. So it's
So around
there's no net cost. The net cost is zero or less.
So it's definitely a profit-making
But that's
and
not,
savings.
it's a savings area. I proposed that we get into this assuming the revenues were going to be zero, because I knew that they were going to be more than that, but we took a worst-case scenario and said, let's assume we're getting nothing. We're avoiding costs and we're saving some energy. We're helping to protect the environment. There's no downside risk. Why don't we try it? And it's working.
Right, and it seems, like I just read an article about a Massachusetts town where they had anticipated 50% participation. The net result was 80%. They had too much, and it's like, that's fabulous.
I wish
you find that people really do care.
They do care. I wish we could say the same thing, that our success was overwhelming. We're having some success. It's not overwhelming. There are some communities closer to home, Rye, and a little bit further away, obviously Peterborough. Peterborough's expecting they're going to pull out over 90% of their refuse will be recycled this year.
That's
and that's
fabulous.
Just unbelievable. They had a goal of 90% by 90, and they'll make it.
Is that something we can look forward to?
Realistically, no. I'd love to say yes, but being realistic, no. Those communities which I just mentioned have transfer stations at their former dumps. So in order for people to, if they want to dispose of their refuse, they have to bring it there, and they will only take it there if they pull out all the recyclables. Okay, if they want a contract to have a private concern individually take their materials, they can still do that, but 90% of what is being brought to their landfill is being recycled.
Okay, getting back to what we saw at the dumpsters, I'd like to discuss bottles.
Okay.
We have a bin for white bottles, we have a bin for colored bottles. I need some explanation.
Well, actually, we have two bins. We have white or clear, really, brown and green. And we do ask that both our volunteers and people who are using the bins to be careful, because what looks clear may actually have a green tint to it. And they have different components in them. Obviously, I'm not a technically oriented person, so I can't tell you what's in them that makes it different. But in order to get the best price for them when we sell it, the colors have to be separated. The other thing that's equally important, if not more important, is that while we're recycling glass, that's what we call it, what we're really recycling is glass food and beverage containers. We cannot accept light bulbs, window glass, mirrors, anything that's not a glass food or beverage container.
Why? Why not a window? To me, the glass is glass.
No, the glass isn't glass. And again, I'm not 100%, there's lead or something else in windows and mirrors, and light bulbs have filaments and things that when they're melted back down to make new glass, it pollutes the load. And if that happens, we have a big problem, because not only are we not recycling, because eventually we're going to have to throw it away because it's polluted, if you will, but then we're going to have to pay trucking twice. So if you're not going to be, if people can't be very careful about what they put in the appropriate bins, in fact, it's counterproductive. It's worse than doing nothing.
Okay. We have tape of people bringing their recyclables to the landfill, which we should be seeing in a few moments, too. Another point I noticed some people were returning their glass with and without labels, with and without covers. Is there a preference? Is there a difference?
Glass labels can be kept on. If people want to remove them, they may, but there's no reason to. We don't require them to. The bottles and jars should not have the lids on them, okay, because obviously they're metal. Can't go in with the glass. Now what I do, frankly, and it's minor, with all my jar lids, is I take those down to the metal pile and throw them into an old refrigerator or an old water heater that's going to be recycled down there in the metal pile down the bottom of the hill of the landfill. So there's a way to recycle your minor pieces, the lids and covers and things from the jars.
Tin cans, should they be washed out?
They should be rinsed out for a couple of reasons. One is it keeps the critters away. Okay. And the other is, and also bees and things in the summer. And we do ask also that bottles, jars be rinsed out. Okay, we're not talking about scrubbing them, but just rinse them out, get the food residue out. Also, when it goes down to being recycled, a significant amount of food residue is going to cause problems for the machinery at the recycling plant itself.
Okay. Let's see that tape now of townspeople coming to the landfill.
Hi, I'm Sandy
newspapers,
Britton, and
Charlie?
I'm at the Plaistow dump.
Oh.
And with me today is Fred Hines. Welcome, Fred.
Hi, how are you? Glad to meet you.
Fred is one of Plaistow's volunteers. We're at the recycling plant, we hope, and I'd like you to talk a little about the tin cans we have behind you and what else Plaistow recycles.
Well, it's good to see all these containers full. The last time I was here, they weren't quite as full, but all of them are full right now.
Fred, I take it that you're a volunteer. You live in Plaistow. What got you going in here? Why are you here today?
Well, I think everybody ought to try to do a little bit the environment. I realize it's not much, but I try to help.
Great. Now, this is a volunteer program. What kind of commitment are you talking about? How much time are you spending doing this?
Well, I'm here 2 hours today. Keith Moulton was here this morning, and this is the second time I've been here.
The program is open regular dump days, which is twice a month, I assume.
That's correct.
I can see we have someone dumping off bottles. What kind of crowd do we get here? How long has it taken you to fill these dumpsters?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask Mr. Kellner about that, but it's been pretty good this afternoon. I understand this morning was very busy.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming out. I applaud you for being a volunteer in the town of Plaistow, and as you can see, the effort's been worthwhile. We have a ton of cans here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with me now I have Ernie Brown. Ernie, you just drove up in your pickup truck and filled the paper dumpster. Is this something that you regularly do for us?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you also recycle cans and glass yet?
Yeah, I give my cans to the Cub Scouts, so. And glass, yeah, I do recycle glass.
And is this a regular trip that you make? You come to the dump twice a month and drop off all your papers?
Yes, I'd like to see a little more convenient, though. It's kind of hard sometimes to get here twice a month.
You have a good suggestion for us? You want the dump open more? House-to-house pickup? What sounds good to you?
Well, maybe if where everything's up front, when the landfill's open during the week, the guys are here working, people could drop their stuff off instead of having to make it Saturday. Earlier Saturday morning instead of 10 o'clock.
What are your concerns for recycling? Is it strictly a matter of money that saves the taxpayers a lot of money in the long run for trash pickup? Is it a recyclable cause for the environment? Basically, why are you here?
Yeah, for the environment, mostly. You know, to save money, too. Just can't see throwing away anymore.
That's great. Thanks a lot for taking some time with us, Ernie, and keep up the good work. Keep giving us those papers and bottles and glass. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here we have Rita Gilbert, who is bringing her bottles and her newspapers. Rita, is this something you regularly do? Do you come?
Yes, we're in the habit now of saving our newspapers in glass containers.
Well, I congratulate you as a Plaistow resident. Why is this important to you?
Well, I guess to recycle items, all the things that you're hearing about, to recycle things and save the earth, so to help out.
Well, I thank you very much, Rita. We do feel that this is important, and we're glad you're here, and every little bit helps. Keep up the good work and spread the word.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with me now is Tom Ingham, who just arrived to deliver his disposable cans. Tom, what brings you here to the Plaistow dump?
This is like about my 4th or 5th trip. I'm putting out a lot less rubbish on Tuesday afternoons than I ever did. I'm probably gone from 2 barrels down to 1 because of bringing cans and paper here. And if the town is paying by weight hauled off, and I just, as one person, can cut down on that weight, I think Charlie Kellner's talking $145,000 a year. We can put that much more back into the school system. That's a bad joke, Henry. No, seriously, I believe in saving money as well as anyone else. And if we can save money by this little effort, it doesn't bother me any.
So you plan to continue to recycle, to bring your paper goods down here and your glass and bottles?
So far, it's just been papers and cans. I haven't started with the bottles yet. I really don't know that much about it. But I do continue, yes. To answer your question, yes, I do plan to continue to come here every other Saturday.
Okay, they do have bins full of the white glass and the colored glass that you can drop off at the Plaistow dump. Tom, I'd like to thank you and continue the good work. We need that paper and we need those cans and bottles.
My pleasure. Such a small thing to do. Thank you, Sandy.
Yep.
Charlie, Tom quoted you as saying you can give us a savings of $145,000. Any truth to that?
Yes, there's a lot of truth to it if you make two assumptions.
Okay.
Okay? The first assumption is that Plaistow, the composition of Plaistow's garbage, if you will, equals the national average. That's a defensible assumption. The other assumption is that everybody in town recycled everything that we are now recycling. Okay, that every aluminum can they use gets recycled. Every newspaper they get gets recycled. Every glass bottle and jar, every tin can gets recycled. Then yes, that number is easily attainable. Let me tell you how. Okay. And I'll bore you with some statistics, but some of them actually, when I got into this, just shocked me. The average American uses 2.5 aluminum beverage cans a day. That's, you start multiplying it out. 2.5 cans, 7,343 people, 365 days a year. You're talking, if you multiply it out, 6.7 million aluminum beverage cans a year in Plaistow. 20 cans makes a pound, talking 152,000 pounds and change. Mm-hmm. I can sell aluminum cans now for 34 cents a pound net. That's $680 a ton. Add $37.50 a ton, we're talking some money. Tin. Average American uses 200 tin cans a year. Again, the same multiplication. Tin we can sell for about $12.45 a ton. Newspaper, and if you'll excuse me, just let me go to some statistics which I had prepared. Newspaper, we throw away in Plaistow, using the national average, 4,000 tons of newspaper in the garbage before we recycle. Multiply that out. We sell it. We get nothing for it, for all intents and purposes. We net 50 cents a ton. Mm-hmm. But that's really $38 a ton when you add it to the $37.50 we're avoiding paying on. And glass is the same way, again with the multiplication. To put it in today's marketplace, both at $37.50 a ton, which is going to escalate, and the price that we can now obtain for it, we are paying roughly, in round numbers, $85,000 to throw away what we shouldn't be throwing away, or what we don't have to throw away. And we're also, if we sold all of that, instead of throwing it away, we'd get another $60,000. Again, I'm rounding. Mm-hmm. 60 and 85 makes $145,000. And for example, I told you newspaper we're only netting 50 cents a ton. That could increase by a factor of 20 times within the next 2 or 3 years because of the national interest in recycling. The capacity at the de-inking mills is growing tremendously. And once these plants come online, what we're now getting, 50 cents, I don't think it's unrealistic to think that by 1995 we'll get $7.50 a ton, or 15 times what we're getting now for the newspaper. One of the other gentlemen you interviewed there at the landfill, you had asked him how often or how frequently we fill up the containers. The newspaper container, that's the 4th time, as I think I mentioned before, that we filled that up. Now the first time, when we started in May, it took us 5 landfill sessions, or 10 weeks to fill it up.
For the newspapers?
Okay? It took us roughly 2.5 months to fill it up.
Okay, now
The last time, excuse me.
Okay, sure.
The last time is going to be dumped this week or next. It took us 2 landfill times. So we're increasing the participation and the activity up there in just the last 6 months, dramatically, okay, from 5 weeks of openness to 2. It's a combination of a lot of factors as to why, but I'm pleased that it's working.
When you say papers, are you talking just newspapers,
No.
or can you?
Okay,
what?
thank you. Primarily newspaper. What we're selling and what we've decided to do is we could get a little bit more for it if we had it just newspaper. But our goal has been to reduce what we throw away. So therefore we can add a little bit of other things to our newspapers. We can take all the inserts that come with the Sunday supplements and all the magazines that come with the newspaper. Anything that comes with your newspaper can go. We can take magazines, we can take phone books, paperboard boxes, which is simply pasta boxes, as long as the cellophane window is removed, cereal boxes, assuming the wax paper insert is removed,
Okay.
tissue boxes if there's no plastic thing with the tissue box, those type of things, as
So in other
opposed to
words-
cardboard. We don't take corrugated.
Okay.
Okay, but the thin paperboard box can go in. So,
Basically, what you're taking are supermarket items,
right.
is what you find between your
Pretty much,
glass.
yeah.
If you can buy it in the supermarket, it can be recycled.
Well, obviously, there's some things, unfortunately, which we can buy in the supermarket which can't be recycled. While you're mentioning supermarkets, when you go and they ask you whether you want paper or plastic, while plastic might be a little bit easier to carry, if they take the paper, you can throw your newspapers in the brown paper bag, and those can be recycled with the newspapers too.
And it's
And
real
so
easy and
it's-
not so heavy to
it's-
carry.
It's a real easy way to recycle a newspaper.
Okay, now the cans, what if we, you take soda cans, beer cans,
Soda cans, beer cans, any of the tin cans, the tomato sauces and pastes and canned vegetables, dog food and cat food.
now, is it better off to crush the cans, or do you want them not crushed?
If I had my druthers, I'd prefer them crushed because the more crushed they are, the more I can fit in that container. But there's no need to crush them. If people don't want to crush them, bring them down, don't worry about it, we'll take them anyway.
And you could leave the labels on them?
Leave the labels on them, there's no reason to take off both ends and anything like that. Please rinse them, but other than that, we'll take them as is.
Okay. We saw that the landfill is manned by volunteers. We interviewed Fred Hines, and he claims that he's only been there twice. He's not a member of the committee, and he just feels a need, and he's there. Do you need more volunteers?
Yeah.
Silly question. Who do they contact? What do they do?
Has that question ever been answered? No. Of course we do. Basically, the people who are volunteering their time there are making sure that only materials that we are recycling are being put in the bins, and that they're being put in the proper bins. Also, if they are willing to, they can help some of the people who, particularly the elderly, who bring their materials to help them unload their cars just to make it a little bit easier. It's really very simple. And if they wish to volunteer, anybody who's watching, they can contact me and I can give them the names and phone numbers of the people to call. Or if they go up to the recycling operation when it's open, which is at least for now the first and third Saturdays of each month, there's going to be a sign-up sheet up there. Always, which is something new. Frankly, the committee had an excellent idea, one that I hadn't thought of. And they started that last time it was open a week ago, Saturday.
Oh, for the volunteer sign-up
It's
sheet?
a volunteer sign-up sheet right there at the center.
Okay. We had Petite Penhale, the chairperson of the recycling committee, at the Plaistow post office interviewing people on the street. We'd like to show you that tape in a few moments. People are concerned. They had a lot of suggestions like, how about door-to-door pickup? Is that economically feasible? Is it, I can just picture everybody with 15 little barrels in front of their house.
Well, I was hoping it was feasible. I was assuming that it was. In fact, when we were negotiating our contract that we now have, I was going on the assumption that it would be feasible and that we could make the numbers work. Unfortunately, we couldn't. Just using some basic assumptions as to what would be recycled, what percentage of the material, what we were going to gain from selling it, what we were going to avoid paying. It still was a net loser. In a financial sense, obviously in an environmental sense, it was a gainer, but a net loser to the tune of about $75,000 to $85,000. And in these tough times, we can't do it. But you mentioned that people are excited, and they are excited. And what's really neat, at least to me, is having volunteered myself up there a couple of times, you get people of all ages, the elderly down to the kids who are there. And if I can personalize it just for a minute, my 4-year-old is incredibly into recycling. Alex will not throw anything away at home unless he asks whether it can be recycled. Unfortunately, it gets down to dirty tissues. He wants to recycle, and I have to explain to him that no, that can't be. But he's very much interested in it. I think it's a combination of seeing it here in Plaistow as well as on some of the educational TV shows. But I think it's great.
I also think it's that generation too. I know growing up as a child, our big thing was don't litter. And that has worked.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the countryside and it is pretty.
It's
it is
changing
clean.
attitudes. And
yes.
if we can raise our youngsters with the attitude that disposable is not a good word, it's a bad word, we'll all be better off in the future.
Right. How do you feel about state-mandated recycling?
How I feel about it is really irrelevant. Look at our license plate. It's live free or die. I think we're the only state in New England that doesn't have a bottle return bill. We're the only state in the area, I think New Hampshire, other than Vermont, Maine, and I believe Massachusetts all have or are planning to impose mandatory recycling guidelines. I don't think New Hampshire will, but I don't think that should stop us or will stop us from achieving similar success stories.
No. Okay, now I'd like to go to our person on the street, Petite Penhale, the chairperson for the committee for recycling. Petite?
Thank you, Sandy. Did you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
Just a little bit, but I'm learning more from you today.
Now that you know about our program, do you plan to get involved?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of things we can do at the Wysocki household as far as recycling cans and bottles and newspapers and things like that.
That's excellent. Why do you think recycling is so important?
Well, we all live in this great environment of ours, and we see the degradation over the years going on, so that certainly efforts like this are going to be really an attribute to keeping what we've had in the past and hopefully have for the future.
Thank you very much. Do you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
Yes, I do. In fact, I've been there several times myself, dropped off several loads, and I've gotten some copies of the sheets, and I'm passing them out around our area.
That's excellent. What would you say to the townspeople who don't recycle and don't plan to start?
If they're aware of it and they don't, I would suggest that they strongly consider doing so, because I think, one, it can add revenue to the town, and plus, you know, you can get rid of a lot of your garbage without filling up landfill areas and all that. I think it's a great idea.
Do you have any tips for people who are afraid that recycling is too much trouble? Do you know any ways of making recycling in the home easier?
Well, I think maybe some of us can help out. I know myself, I have a van that I could possibly, you know, some of the elderly people that maybe can't make the trips quite as often, other people can help out and offer to pick up their recyclables.
What is the main reason that you think recycling is so important?
Just the fact that we're taking a product which is going to end up in landfills, and eventually, you know, where we have too much of a garbage problem already, we can take that and make something new out of it again.
Do you plan to start saving your glass, cans, and newspaper?
Certainly. They want to collect them, I'll bring them.
Why do you think recycling is so important?
Necessary. The dumps are filled up. All the thing has changed. They got too much waste, and everything else is going to drive you out of the country.
Good morning. Do you live in the town of Plaistow?
No, I don't. I live in Newton, New Hampshire.
Does Newton have a recycling program?
They have a limited recycling program. They recycle newspapers, aluminum cans, and that's about it.
Do you participate in the recycling program?
We do, but I also recycle plastics, all glass, all tin cans, and anything else that can't go into, that I don't feel should go into a landfill, but I have no place to take it.
What are some of the major problems, do you think, with these budding recycling programs?
I think they're very limited. I know they're trying to do their best, but I think there should be more either federally or state funding for this, so all communities, so you can go any place to take your recycling products, not just in your township.
Do you have any tips for people who think recycling in the home is difficult? Where do you put all that stuff?
I have lots of bags of black bags filled of tin cans and glass and everything, and I'm just storing it. We have a barn, and I'm keeping it in the barn until Newton becomes aware of the problem of more junk in the landfill.
Well, you're very dedicated. What would you say is the most important reason for recycling?
I just think that you should be able to recycle whatever you use and not have a lot of throwaway things.
Thank you very much. Did you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
Yes, I recently read about it in the newspaper.
Now that you know about it, do you plan to start saving your newspaper, cans, and glass?
Well, I attempt to start saving newspapers. We have a lot of those.
What would you say to townspeople who aren't convinced that they should recycle?
I would ask them where they're going to get materials for houses in the future and what is going to happen to our water supplies.
Thank you very much.
Charlie, we see that there's definitely a concern out there. People are aware that there is a problem. They are aware that they should start recycling, but I don't think they know where, how, when.
It's been difficult. We haven't reached the number of people we hope to reach. Frankly, the newly formed recycling committee has some very positive ideas, making the more eye-catching, readable flyer for distribution. One of the committee members, pardon me, is a teacher at Pollard, and she'll be putting something in the weekly missive or bi-weekly missive that goes home, the Pollard Express. So that's another way to get the word out. We have used the message channel here at the cable station. I'm hoping to include a segment in this year's annual report so every household will get one. We're considering direct mail on a limited basis. So you're right, there's a major need to increase the awareness because a large percentage of the people who are aware of it are willing to participate, are willing to make a little bit of extra effort to recycle. Our goal at this point and our problem at this point is to let people know about it.
Very good. Where does everything go?
The newspaper goes to Haverhill Paper Board, where it's recycled. They're part of the Newark group, one of the, if not the largest paper recycler in the nation. There it gets recycled into numerous paper products. And so that's where our newspaper goes. Our aluminum and tin, which by the way, it's one container. They don't have to be separated. They're separated magnetically at advanced recycling. Obviously tin, which is really tin-coated steel cans, attached to a magnet. The aluminum will not. That goes to advanced recycling in Concord. And our glass, we haven't filled the container yet, but in all probability, the best contract that I have been able to find so far is through the New Hampshire Resource Recovery Association, and they use a company called CR Inc. or CRI Inc., Container Recovery Incorporated, who will take our glass.
Okay, do you have plans to recycle plastic, cardboard?
Plans? No. Aspirations? Yes. Unfortunately, the reasons why we're not are numerous. Plastic, it's light, so we're not saving much as far as weight. And this market is changing so dramatically, Sandy, it's incredible. When I first got into this just a year or so ago, the plastic recyclers wanted granulated plastic. That's how they wanted it.
You would have to granulate the plastic?
By a granulator. Those aren't all that expensive. In fact, I had a line on a used one that was going to be fairly inexpensive. It sounded like something we could do.
What's fairly inexpensive?
It was a couple $1,000.
Okay.
Okay, for a used one. Well, the market's changed 180 degrees, and now you cannot get rid of granulated plastic. If you look at the bottom of a soda bottle, detergent bottle, a lot of the plastics, you'll see a number on most of them in the recycling triangle with the arrows.
Correct.
And 1, 2, and 3 are the ones that normally can be recycled most easily. The numbers go up, I believe, to 7. HDPE, PET, and combinations and other types of plastics. But you've got to separate them. And the way
Numerically?
Numerically. Now, what happens is, if you granulate them, it's real tough to separate them. What they do now is they separate them in a float tank. HDPE floats and PET doesn't, or vice versa. Frankly, I forget which one it is.
Okay.
Okay? And that's how they do it. But now they don't want it granulated. They want them compacted. Well, a compactor is exceptionally expensive. When we're talking add a zero to what we were talking about, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $14,000. Then we have a power problem, a storage problem, et cetera, and so forth.
And is that still bought by weight?
Yes. And in order to get rid of it, you've got to have numerous bales. So we'd have a storage problem as well. Cardboard is a similar thing. You cannot get rid of corrugated unless it's baled. We don't have a baler, and we have no place to put a baler, and we have no place to store our bales. I'm hoping as some of the surrounding communities get more involved with recycling, there's a possibility that we might be able to work a deal to joint venture, if you will, and purchase some of this equipment if they have the storage space for it, and allow us to get into that, to buy some time with their baler type of thing. But that, unfortunately, is months away.
Oh, okay. We'd like to see the rest of Petite's interviews with her people on the street at the post office in Plaistow, which we shall see temporarily. In the meantime, Charlie, I think this program is fabulous. Can we expect 50% participation in town?
Realistically, probably not, okay? I don't want to sound like a wet rag. We don't recycle rags. No, I think if we were able to achieve a 25 to 33%, quarter to a third participation rate with a drop-off center as opposed to the other programs which have either a transfer station or curbside recycling, I think that would be ambitious but achievable. I think 50%.
That's where your high percentages come in?
50% would be wonderful, but I don't think it's realistic.
Okay, let's go now to Petite.
Do you live here in Plaistow?
No, I live in Haverhill.
Do you recycle?
Yes, I live right down the street from a place and I bring stuff down for my parents.
Do you think recycling is very important?
Yeah, cause like we like recycle and stuff, and it's better than just putting it in landfills, cause that pollutes the land and the dirt stuff.
Do you have any ideas for how kids can get involved in Plaistow?
Well, they can talk to their parents to save cans and glass bottles.
Did you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
No, I didn't.
Now that you know about it, do you plan to start saving your newspaper, glass, and cans?
Yes, I do.
Why do you think recycling is so important?
Well, because now, you know, the earth and the planet is, you know, in danger of the trash and all the plastic, and it doesn't take much of your time to, you know, set it aside and bring it down to a facility where they can do something useful with it.
Thank you very much. Did you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
No, I didn't know about the program.
Now that you know, are you planning on saving your glass, newspaper, and cans?
Sure, we'd participate in it.
Do you have anything you'd like to see in the future for Plaistow's recycling program?
Well, I think for the program to be really successful, there should be curbside pickup. Otherwise, it's a little bit of an inconvenience to get out to the dump, and curbside, I think, would increase the participation.
Well, until that day, do you plan to get in your car and go?
Probably once a month. We'd store them up and ship them out once a month, yeah.
That's excellent. How do you think we can get more people involved?
Publicizing the program. I think that's the best way, if not the only way. On probably the best way would be direct mailers to the homes. Newspapers would be good, depending on how big of a ad or whatever would be in the paper.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think recycling is so important?
Well, for the environment, we're just going to run out of space eventually to store all this trash, burning adds dirt to the environment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
Yes, I do. I do know all about it. From Maryland Center. I'm a member of Plaistow Lioness, and she was discussing it at a meeting, and I'm very interested in it, and I do intend to speak with her so that I can help out with it.
Do you save your bottles, cans, and newspaper?
Just aluminum cans so far, because we don't know what to do with the rest of the stuff.
Well, now you know where you can go. What would you say to people in town who aren't convinced that they should recycle?
I feel that everybody should try in some way because, of course, we need to help protect the environment and with everything that's going on. And any little thing that they can do to help, certainly would help everybody.
Well, do you know about the recycling program here in Plaistow?
Yes, I do, and I'm very much interested in it.
So you recycle your newspaper, glass, and cans?
Well, we try to as much as we can. We do recycle cans, basically because now there is a place down in Haverhill where we can take them. And, also, deposit aluminum that we might pick up here and there. But we've recycled aluminum for years. It's a little bit of pocket money for the kids. They take a good interest in it, and I like to see that. And I've noticed that the students at the high school have started recycling their aluminum up there, which I think is very commendable, and they're trying to do something with plastic. But I wish, really right now we had more places where we could take paper, plastic, different kinds of metal beyond aluminum than we do right now.
How do you think we can get the citizens of Plaistow to start bringing their newspaper, glass, and cans to the dump?
I think really by setting up a good, positive program at the dump. What I would like to see is something easy for people to drive up to. Just back up their car. They can throw green glass in this bin, brown glass in that bin, clear glass in this bin, and so on. A lot of people in town will do that, and I know a lot of people in town agree with the principle of recycling. I don't think anybody would say it's a bad idea. It's certainly a good idea, but trying to get people to do it is basically the problem. Curbside pickup in the future is something certainly, that I'd like to see, because there are a lot of people who might recycle that way, but getting them to get into the car and go to the dump, a lot of people won't do that. Going to the dump in this town used to be quite a tradition. I don't know if you folks have come in with the cable really since we closed the landfill, but it used to be a great meeting place. People would have a lot of fun up there. Maybe there's something they can get going. Maybe even organizations selling coffee and donuts on a Sunday to get people up. Boy Scouts promoting it. I'm sure there are a lot of organizations in town that can really get the people out if they want. Certainly if they can get the people to polls on certain issues, they can get them to the dump to recycle.
Well, Sandy, one thing we learned here this morning at the Plaistow Post Office is that the citizens of this town tend to be camera shy. But many people spoke to us off camera, and they said that they weren't aware of the program, but now that they know, they plan to recycle. Back to you.
Thank you, Petite. Doug, I hope we've convinced you, now that you've seen our show, to please come to the Plaistow landfill. We need your cans, papers, and glass a lot more than the other towns. I'd also like to mention that at the middle school in Plaistow, teacher Mr. Brian Furman has started a recycling program there. They are collecting cans for the school. It is going to be used for sergeant camp and for other school activities. They have a dumpster there. All you have to do is drop off your bagged cans. They'll gladly take them. It's for school activities. Charlie. Okay, being the recycling buff that you are, and as town manager in control of the town hall, what do they have to do at the town hall to recycle?
Every newspaper that comes in, every aluminum can that comes in, if it goes in the trash, it doesn't go in the trash. It gets recycled. Whether it's me or somebody else, it's normally me. I bring them up there every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, fill up my car with what we collect here in town hall. The other thing that we're doing, and unfortunately I haven't been able to figure out a way to be able to offer this outside of town hall, is we're recycling our office paper. The amount of junk mail, if you will, and other office paper that we create, produce, or receive is unbelievable. And we have instituted an office paper recycling program in town hall. We've been doing it now for, I'm guessing, 3 months. So far, while we haven't gotten rid of it, we've got better than 6, maybe 7 cubic feet of stuff with used office paper that we've saved from being thrown away, and we'll sell it for, a penny a pound. It's irrelevant. We'll get nothing for it for all intents and purposes. But it's just another statement that we can make.
Where are you bringing this?
We haven't made a decision yet. It'll be either to an outfit. We won't bring it anywhere. It'll be picked up.
Okay.
There's 2 outfits that I've been talking to, one in Salem, one in Tewksbury, Mass, who will take our office paper and use computer paper. But more than for the revenue either gained or saved, expense saved, it's really an education project. It's getting people in Town Hall to think about things, and it's also making a statement to the community that, yes, recycling does take a little bit of extra effort, but we in town government are willing to make that extra effort, and it's a statement that we're making to those people, to everybody out there, that we're going to make the effort. We're not going to ask you to do anything we're not doing ourselves.
Commendable. Thank you very much, Charlie, for being
pleasure.
with us and sharing this with us. Again, I'd like to thank you for instituting this program in the town of Plaistow. It took a long time in coming. It's well worth it.
If I can interject to talk about a long time in coming when it started, Sandy, I offered Ruth Jenny in Town Hall, mentioned that she had a large number of newspapers. And I said, well, Ruthie, I'll be happy to take them for you. What I didn't know until I got there, she had been saving her newspapers for at least 2 years. And had stacks of them because she assumed that at some point Plaistow was going to recycle. It's something that was a long time in coming, but it's picking up steam, and I'm pleased we have it.
That's great. Thanks again.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us at Positively Plaistow. Take care and keep smiling.